Hey everybody, just letting you know that at the end of the video there's going to be some exciting announcements and news about the future of the channel. If you could just wait towards the end or at least skip towards there so you could hear it, it would mean a lot to me. Thank you. Hello everybody and welcome to my 15,000 subscriber special. Don't look at the number beneath me. That's your fault, not mine. But seriously, I really did want to thank you guys because the reason we're making this video is that I promised if I could hit 15,000 subscribers by the end of the year, I would make a special video voted on by you guys. We hit far above 15,000, which I'm really thankful for you guys. However, the video that you guys voted on was a character creation video. And so I decided that seemed a little bit boring and I wanted to make it a little bit more interesting. So I decided that I was going to post a bunch of polls on the week of Christmas leading up to Christmas that would let you guys decide what type of character I created. And you guys give me a few different descriptors that I was supposed to use in the character. They were supposed to be graceful, they were supposed to use the color green, they were supposed to use the material crystals, they were supposed to be an ASMR, they were supposed to be a half-caster, and they were supposed to be an archaeologist. So putting all those together, I decided that this character still wasn't far enough outside of my control, so instead I decided to take all those and go commission an artist. I actually reached out to an artist and the conversation pretty much went like this. With that done, I waited for them to give me the art. I waited and waited, I continued to talk with them, they asked if I wanted to see how the art was going, and I said no, I wanted to be fully surprised and see the whole product for itself. So, with all of that, waiting for everything that was supposed to come, and finally getting everything together to create this character for you guys, I was given this. Needless to say, I was really excited because first of all, that art is absolutely incredible. My wife calls her mommy when she sees her. But nonetheless, I thought it was absolutely amazing and I really was excited to create a character with this. And so, I'm going to. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I introduce you to Valerie, the keeper of the Shattered God.
Do you mean interest or introduce?
Did I say interest? I'll do that again then. So ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to Valerie, the keeper of the Shattered God. At a young age, Valerie insisted that she was not special. Not because she wasn't special, of course, but because she wanted nothing but to just be ignored. You see, Valerie was born into a relatively wealthy family of famous performers and entertainers, leading her to being in the spotlight more often than she would have liked. Constantly, she would be bombarded every time they entered a new town by enthusiastic and horribly loud fanatics, insisting on hearing her parents and siblings sing their latest song to reveal their greatest written tales. They were always boisterous, enthusiastic, and apparently overwhelming to only Valerie. While her family might have thrived in the attention they received, allowing it to lift them up on a pedestal, Valerie felt crushed underneath the weight of the same attention. As her family was elevated into the history books, she was squashed underneath the boot of obscurity. Despite this, however, that's actually how she preferred it. She never desired the bright lights or the gaudy sounds, and instead preferred a stage far more subdued yet no less important. The stage of quill and paper. While her family would perform elaborate plays and loud musicals, Valerie would be in the background researching and writing the very historically accurate plays which they would then perform. They might have been the talent, yes, but without her, the truly impressive details which went into every single one of their plays would have been all but lost, leaving them just mediocre at best. And yet, despite this, Valerie did eventually find herself longing for something, well, something less than in the spotlight, yes, but still something which she felt she could do more to change the world in a positive direction. It took some convincing, several months of it in fact, but eventually she convinced her parents that leaving would actually be the best for her, so she could go out into the world and make a difference in her own way. And so, at the age of 19, Valerie went out into the world with a determined look and a forced smile. At first, she didn't know what she was searching for. That was, until she stumbled across what looked like an abandoned archaeological dig. Naturally, given her affinity for history, she found herself beginning to draw nearer to the abandoned dig site, and she eventually convinced herself she had to dive in head first. There was simply no other way to scratch that itch of curiosity. It didn't take long to find out information, as the entire place had been left in a hurry. In fact, most of their notes and supplies were actually still there. This, of course, should have been a worrying sign, but she found herself going deeper in despite this. The notes which she found described the ruins that she was in as totally alien, a civilization never recorded in any of the history books. Every step she took, it seemed like something was taking her deeper and deeper into a long abandoned city, and somehow it was entirely untouched by the stretches of time. The entire area was dark, looming, echoing across every single surface. She felt so alone where she was. The further down she went, the more notes she had found by the previous archaeologists. The notes described the place as cursed, haunted by time, and buried for a reason. It gave every single reason for her to turn and leave, never looking back. Valerie continued to explore even deeper into the catacombs. Eventually, she found herself at the entrance of what seemed to be a massive stone vault. It was covered in strange runes and writing, some legible and some entirely foreign to anything she had ever seen. It was massive, stretching up to nearly 5 times her size and perfectly carved into the side of the ground that formed the cage which the city had been buried in. It was haunting, and yet she just couldn't look away, driven by a maddening curiosity to know what was inside. Perhaps it was a magical pull, perhaps it was her own hubris, but she just couldn't leave. She had to know what was being hidden from her. It took her days and almost all of her rations, but she refused to leave until she knew what had been kept in there for so long. Why had it scared so many away? What had caused the city to be hidden and forgotten? It was this maddening curiosity and her pure determination which allowed her to finally crack the secrets of the vault. With a final push into one of the hundreds of different hidden buttons, she whispered, "Gotcha," as the gargantuan stone circle began to rumble and shove forwards, nearly knocking her off her feet before it rolled with a thunderous crash and revealed the cavern beyond. Inside was nothing more than a simple pedestal and one wine bottle-sized green crystal. In her excitement, she foolishly rushed forwards to grab it without thinking of the consequences. And yet, this single decision would be the best she ever made. The moment the cool, smooth, cold crystal surface touched her dusty hand, her mind was flooded. Flooded with information, thoughts, ideas, concepts. In one moment, she could see the entire universe, the planes, everywhere that was and is. She could see inventions, machinery, she could see gods warring and demons wailing. She could see the world age and die, and she could see it being born yet again. She could see nothing. Without warning, her vision returned, and in her hand was nothing more than a slightly dusty green crystal of no value. She blinked and frowned before dropping to her knees in disbelief. What was that? The memories, the knowledge, it was already fading. She couldn't remember it. It was so much. It was everything she had wanted. No, it had to come back. Wait. Her eyes widened as she realized. It wasn't all gone. She had more knowledge in her head than she did before. There was still something there. Not much, but something. She had ideas to create concoctions and inventions she had never imagined were possible. And even better, she had the knowledge of where to find the next crystal. So, Valerie. I went a lot of different directions trying to decide how I was going to create this character. I wanted it to feel super unique and fun for you guys, but still feeling like it was the D&D vibe. I didn't want to go so far out of it that it wasn't necessarily something you might find in a typical D&D campaign. Not only that, I also wanted you guys to be able to use this character. As an NPC or a player character, I didn't really mind, but I wanted it to be accessible to everybody. And so that's why I decided to go with what I did. Now I did try and decide which level I wanted to go to. Did I want to build her up to 10, 11, 12? And I figured, you know what, it's a 15k special. I'll go ahead and take her to level 20, and just so I can describe exactly everything that I imagine when this character is at their full capacity. I did consider taking 20 levels in Artificer, but ultimately I decided to take 18 and 2 multi-class levels, which we'll get into in a second. But before we get fully into that, who is Valerie? What exactly is she and what's her whole deal? My concept behind her was that she was going to be somebody who didn't necessarily have the knowledge that an artificer usually would. And I really considered why I wanted to do that, but at the end of the day, artificers are always assumed to have that knowledge. So that it'd be really fun to be somebody who does have that knowledge, but not because they necessarily searched for it. And so I came up with the idea of this character who was an archaeologist, that was on you guys, who was searching for these specific green crystals. Also on you guys. But the reason she was searching for them was because every time she touched them, she gained more knowledge. And that was because these crystals were actually the shattered shards of a gem dragon's brain. At one point, there was a gem dragon long ago who lived eons and eons, and they became so powerful they were almost on the brink of ascending to divinity. But at the last second, the other gods rose up against them and decided to shatter its mind in order to prevent it from overtaking all of their power. And thus the shards of its mind were scattered across the land. Now, you might think, why wouldn't anybody just find these and gain this knowledge? But Valerie is special. See, she didn't know it, but she had a divine blood within her. And so when she went to touch the shard of somebody who was just on the brink of divinity, she, instead of being overwhelmed or entirely torched by all that knowledge, was able to absorb it and was able to connect and activate that divine blood within her in order to be able to interact with the knowledge. So that's why she's now on the hunt for these different shards, not knowing that when she brings them all together, she may resurrect a very powerful deity that she is not prepared for. But in the meantime, she's benefiting from its knowledge. So I decided I wanted to sort of represent that in a character, and I went a lot of different ways with it. One one, Artificer is just amazing, and every time she touches a gem, well, she gains a new infusion. Not because she's, gaining that knowledge by just discovering it, but literally gaining it from the mind of this dragon. It also kind of explains why she can only have a few infusions at a time. That always bothered me about artificers. They have all this knowledge and yet they can only create a few at a time. It makes sense mechanically, but story-wise it was always a little lacking for me. But for her, it's literally because she's picking up these shards and she can only maintain so much knowledge from them at a time. She literally only knows how to make so many infusions. And then I also decided to go with the Alchemist subclass. And that was just because everything else felt a little bit off. Yeah, Battlesmith could work. She should gain the knowledge to be able to create a mechanical companion, but that felt a little weird. It felt strange for her to create something like that. Instead, I decided to go with Alchemist because it was so random. When you create the concoctions that the Alchemists are allowed to, you have to roll. You don't get to decide what they're going to do. And for somebody who's gaining knowledge that isn't theirs to create these things, knowledge they don't fully understand, that just seemed to really work for me. And I really enjoyed doing it. I also unintentionally ended up creating one of the best healers I possibly could. Because one, she is an ASMR, which means she has the ability to touch people and heal them. Awesome. She's also an alchemist. They gain bonuses to healing and their potions can heal. Also awesome. And then I decided to go with the last bit, unintentionally really establishing her as a powerful healer. And that was the fact that I wanted her to take 2 levels of Warlock. Now I know everybody always multi-classes into Warlock, but it really made sense for this, because as she's gaining all of these shards and putting them together, she's creating more and more the mind of a dragon. And so eventually, she was going to be able to connect with this entity, and it would be able to offer her power. Now, keep in mind, I did want to make her a draconic patron, but there is no draconic patron. Something I may fix in the future, but for now, it doesn't exist. And so instead, I decided to take her down the celestial route. It made sense, the dragon was about to become a god, and that's when I realized the celestial also gives the ability to heal from afar, meaning she has obviously all of the healing spells that an artificer naturally gets, as well as the ability to heal from her warlock subclass, and from her artificer subclass, and from her race. Unintentionally, I created a very, very good healer. Is it the best in the world? Absolutely not. Just go life cleric. But it is definitely close, and I really like the build, especially since she was never supposed to be a fighter. She's just looking for knowledge, and if that knowledge allows her to heal the companions who are fighting for her, hey, why not? Let them take all the damage so that you can find the cool archaeological digs. Ultimately, I really enjoyed creating this character concept, and it wasn't out there or as wild as I initially intended, but I think I'm okay with that. In the future, when I do more videos like this, which I am hoping to do if you all like it, then I think I can go a little bit more wild and crazy, especially if I decide to put the polls out so that you guys can continue to vote on them. But that does lead me into something that I did particularly want to talk about, and that was the future of the channel. Sorry for the sudden transition, I really wasn't sure how else to do it. Now, at the beginning of the year, I did post some videos talking about the future of the channel, and I made some community posts too. If you don't interact with the community posts, please do. I love talking with you guys. But in those, I talked about how much I wanted to commit more to this channel this year. And then life happened. Weird things I'm not going to get into, personal things, but basically it forced me to make a decision. Was this something I was going to commit to? Was this something I wanted to commit to? And the answer is yes. Making these videos has been so amazing for me, and it's been amazing for the people close to me too. I've been able to interact with them in ways that I wasn't able to before, and they've been so supportive of it. And it meant that I really wanted to do something for you guys, and I really wanted to make this something that I was able to do as much as possible. I do want to go full time with this, but I don't think it's possible that I can, not yet. But I do want to get there. And so I am excited to announce our Patreon. Now, I will be fully transparent and upfront about this. This Patreon is not something I can do on my own. Oftentimes when I talk about going full time, all of you guys immediately told me to slow my brakes and make sure I don't burn myself out. 1, thank you, that's really sweet. 2, you're right. I really want to commit something special for you guys, and I can't do that by myself. So I am bringing on a few different people to help me in creating the Play Your Role team as a whole. In fact, one of them is one of the people who helped me make the Sorcerer Unlimited supplement, so hopefully you guys like that work. The other person is my wife, who is sitting behind the camera. I'm very much appreciative of her, and she's just going to be helping manage a lot of the other things that I can't at the moment so that we can make this something worthwhile doing. I know that Patreons are a little bit weird, and I do want to just kind of give a brief overview of things that you can get from there, but I'm not going to go fully into it. I'm going to leave the link in the description so that you guys can go and check out if this is something that you want to do. And I want to emphasize, it is not something that you have to do. It would be very helpful for me and I would be so appreciative, but anything that you guys go over there to do is just a blessing to me and nothing more. I don't expect anything from you guys. But the things we're hoping to do on Patreon is not just give you random things that you can give money to me for. No, we're actually hoping to give you content over there. The first thing that we're going to do is there are a few different tiers, and based on the tiers you get different homebrew content, and we are going to be putting it out on a weekly, monthly, and quarterly basis. To the point where at different quarters, we're going to be giving you guys themed dungeons. Not only that, this is content that you guys, if you're a patron, have influence over. Each month, we're going to give you votes to be able to choose what theme you want us to make all of our content on, and we will commit to that. So, for example, because we can't actually have you guys vote on this month, we're going to be doing a primordial theme. That means subclasses, monsters, items, the whole shebang, all based around primordial concepts. And each month, you guys will be able to vote on what else you want to do. Not only that, I'm hoping to make more of these character creation videos if you guys like them. I really enjoyed it, and they'll be for the patrons. You guys will be able to vote what types of characters you want me to make, the same way I did for this first one. And when it goes out on the channel, you'll know that you were able to vote on those in order to be able to create the characters. And I will provide character sheets for the characters for the patrons as well, if they want them. There are a few other things that we're going to be offering, themed ambiances at the end of each month, stuff like that, and it will all be patron-based, which means you guys will have the influence over it. And I know that this is not content I've given before, so I would really appreciate it if you go check it out and see if this is something that you guys would like to do. Honestly, you guys donating to the Patreon is not something that I demand of you, but this is the way that I can continue to keep this content going out for you, and it would really give me security in my life right now. It would mean a whole lot, and frankly, I just want to keep giving to you guys in any way that I can. So if you could support me there, it would be absolutely awesome, and the entire Player Role team will thank you. And look out in the future for some introductions to some of the people coming onto the team so you can get to know them. I'm genuinely very excited for this experience and this opportunity, and I hope you all are too. Thanks for being as amazing as you are, and I couldn't do this without you. Go out into the world, make it your own, you beautiful bastards. Don't forget to have a great day, and never forget to play your role. Thank you. Come again.